And welcome back. And yes, I have the AEW World Championship. It's the toy version I recently bought. I think this would be perfect for this video since we're going to be talking about wrestling. So, yeah, we'll set this down. Just how I showed off. Get my notes out. And here we go. Episode 4. We're going to be talking about my PGW Endgame run. Now, I only wrote down some highlights from this run. I didn't fully put down everything, simply because in case I do future journeys for the PGW channel, I don't want to spoil all the beans. So we'll talk about some of these things that I've written down here, and then if I talk about in the endgame run, I'll go more into specific details. So, I was still dealing with a bad depression during this time, like I said in these previous episodes, and then I do some of the things. We do a storyline where Emma gets captured, who goes by Medusa. She was the manager for Scorpion, the Scorpion character. She gets captured by Leatherface, and the deal was she would become a heel and a member of the militia. So basically, is essentially turned me babyface, which I didn't mind at that time. I felt like I was a heel for too long. I'm probably in the top 3, maybe best heels or top 5 heels in PGW history, but yeah, it was time for me to turn face. And Emma wanted to, be a bad guy still, which I understand. So we do a story where she gets captured and she becomes a member of the militia, which goes over time, and then that's where she turns on me in January. Now, for me, Scorpion's goal is to save Medusa, bring her back, and save her, just like how Spider-Man would save Mary Jane, except we're not in a relationship; it's more or less a friendship. Um, so we do the junkyard brawl. Scorpion's looking for Medusa or whatever, but Leatherface, I think it was Leatherface, challenges me to a junkyard match where we do it at an abandoned, not an abandoned, but someone's junkyard, which we got approval from Christian, who goes by Big Rig, if I recall. Actually, that might have been a day where we went up there without telling him. Yeah, I think that was. I think we went up without telling Christian, and I think he got pissed. But so we do the thing up there, and that's where Cryptic, known as Nick, returns. And he joins the militia along with Lunatic and Mysterion. Now, Medusa's nowhere to be seen because of the storyline. She's basically still being captive. So, my thoughts on the match, to me, I liked it, though you could see signs that my body wasn't into it the way it should have been. Again, I was really disappointed with my performance, specifically in the last 5-10 minutes. There was a spot where I took a black hole slam onto shedding, like the shed roofs. I think that's what they were. And I will only took it. It wasn't planned, and I still took it. But in the end, it actually knocked the wind out of me. And I basically lost my breath throughout the entire match after this happened, which sucked. But so we had to pause the video and all that, and I don't recall. I don't think I was on the verge of throwing up, but I came sort of close. I just felt sick to my stomach. But besides that, I thought it was a good match, good brawl, good fight, and helped solidify the return of Cryptic. So then a few weeks later, that's when Medusa turns on me, and that's where she officially turns heel. And there was a moment where I accidentally got hit in the face by a belt, which actually legit busted me open. And I actually kind of felt a little off from that because I'm usually not used to getting cut or bloody like that. I have first thought was a serious cut because it would just not stop bleeding. And I had a scar on my forehead for a couple months, but since then kind of faded somewhat. In fact, it was actually this belt that I got smacked in the face with because I can't remember who was recording at the time. They didn't really get out of the way, so I kind of got the shit on the stick. And some of those bumps I took in there, my body didn't really adapt to it. But that was also a way to set up me and Nick. So Nick he dislocates my elbow. A lot of people say, "Oh, he broke my arm." And storyline wise, I couldn't do that because I'd be out for like 5 months or so. So we did the dislocated elbow thing. So the first official match back would be Scorpion versus Cryptic for my PGW Intercontinental Championship. And I thought the match was good, but I will admit I am not a fan of wrestling Nick. Um, Nothing against him. I just find him to be a little ruthless at times and aggressive, which is there's no problem with that. That's just his style, and I had to adapt to that kind of style. And I thought I did okay with that, even though I was still really uncomfortable wrestling Nick, because I know how he can be, and he can be reckless at times. So I'm not gonna lie about that. Look at instance the time he did the Fatal 4-Way, he threw a washlet without even thinking and hit Stephen right in the face. Whether I'm sure it was accidental, but sometimes he could get carried away. But anyway, I thought it was a good match, and I thought it really helped Nick. But looking, that was probably like the only good thing for Nick because of what happened later on in the season, which I'm not gonna really go fully details on the Nick on here, just because I have a lot of things that I would like to discuss probably about it. But it's mainly me just being uncomfortable with him in those reasons I just said, and then but yeah, no, I thought it was a good match, and I thought it helped Nick up until the stuff that happened to him, which I'm honestly disappointed about. But who's surprised? Um, so, and then as soon as I lose to Nick, we do a tag title match, and my body's breaking down. And my other problem is I'm not feeling adrenaline, and I blame some of this on rain rust. Again, I am one of those wrestlers who has a lot of problems when it comes to rain rust and not wrestling for a while. Um, I don't remember if I had any of those issues when I returned for HFW or the road to Mr. Dark 50, but it did show in my match with Anthony back in Resurrection too, Buckaroo. Um, but I think that was part of it, and something that happened to me later on during the future after Endgame, which I'll talk about at the end of this, is that my back basically gave out. Again, I felt tight pain around my lower back and tailbone area, and I was trying hard to escape, and I actually tapped out. I actually got frustrated at Nick, and I just walked off because I knew I would have stirred shit if I started screaming and everything. So I went to the yard to calm myself down. At first, I really thought Nick did that on purpose, but again, I think part of it was my back just said, "Okay, I can't do this, so I'm gonna have to tap it." And I think that led to some heat for me, which I'm sorry if it did, but it's just that my body wasn't the way it used to be. Um, so that happened, and at the end of the day, it is what it is. Everybody had a mutual understanding. I had a mutual understanding. Steven did, Nick did, Anthony did. Again, it was just one of those things that what happened happened, and luckily we were able to put that aside, continue the match. Which honestly, if we didn't continue the match, it would have only been like 6 minutes, something like that. So I'm glad we got that out of the way and we finished the match. I took a spiking power driver combo move. I had that idea, and Nick pins me, so they win the CW tag titles. Um, and again, that's like I said, it is what it is. I have nothing really to complain about. It's just an unfortunate thing that actually happened. Um, but yeah, so the problem is that's when we do the loser streak, which was actually my idea because, and plus Steven I think wanted me to lose more, which I get because I've been on the top for so long in this part-time role that I think it was time for me to take a step back and help these mid card guys or higher up card guys or low card guys and give them a chance. So I end up winning hardcore titles a lot. So I win more of that and drop down to the bottom of the card basically to give some of these other guys that opportunity because I've been on top for so long as this part timer because everybody knew since I came back for Endgame, I'm pretty much a solidified full timer at this point. So that's how the first loser streak came out to be. And also because Scorpion still misses and cares for Medusa. So basically, Scorpion's just always going to think about is trying to get Medusa back, trying to save her, get her off this mindset, which that was actually part of the match with Nick. So, like, if I beat Nick, which I didn't, I tapped out to my own finisher, I basically would get her back. But why would Medusa want to go back to Scorpion if he beats Cryptic? Like, Medusa's still going to be loyal to the Mask of Militia. And that's what happened. Nick won. So, basically, that was just to get me back on track or momentum wise or whatever. And we questioned putting the world title on me because like I said in the other episodes, I don't know fully why I decided to come back. But since I came back, my one goal was to win at least one world championship because of HFW not turning out the way it was going to be. So my mindset was win at least one world title. And the idea was for me to win the HFW halfway through the season, but it didn't end up happening because, of my back problems whatsoever, starting from the Junkyard Brawl. So we had a Money in the Bank ladder match where I was actually planning to win. The match was designed for me to win because I honestly didn't know if there was any other way where I could reach or win the world championship. But we found another way around it at the end of the day, and I also kind of we seemingly dashed chicks. I didn't think I'd be capable enough to do that, especially with me having the rust and the back problems. And there were some times where I wasn't really having fun, to be honest, and I know Steven wanted me to have more fun. And I think some of it was just me being disappointed and also the depression issues I was having chiming from stuff from happened that previous summer with the girls, vice versa, and the stuff that happened with the girls talking to. That stuff went over to PGW along with some issues I had with friends that went into PGW. So the loser streak ends when no. Let's talk about the I Quit match first. So we do an I Quit match which fully solidifies Scorpion has lost Medusa. And I personally believe this is my favorite match with Steven. It's the I Quit match. And I believe it's 5 stars in my opinion, specifically because of the story that was told. Again, the wrestling wise, it wasn't really much, but the story we told with Scorpion and Medusa, specifically the ending where he's about to punt Medusa in the face for Scorpion to say I quit because Scorpion cares about Medusa, and Medusa still has signs that she cares about Scorpion. So Scorpion says I quit, and Beers wins the U.S. titles. And then at the end, you have the visual of me holding Medusa in my arms and hands. And then you have that video montage playing at the end. That's just what you call great storytelling. I have some pretty good stories told in some of these matches, which would progress later on throughout the season. But to me, this was the start, and I still believe this is a 5-star match, specifically because of the story that was told. And this was the original last match for me and Steven. We didn't even attend on wrestling each other again, but we ended up wrestling, I think, 3 more times. Once in a championship gauntlet where I would win, followed by a world championship match where I would lose, and then lose again to an endgame. But anyway, we end up going to, as that progresses, vice versa, I end up winning my 4th world championship after all, which I was not the option to. Austin wasn't showing up because of work reasons and stuff, so he was stripped of the CWA World Heavyweight Championship. And at the Endgame run, we brought back the CWA, the PGW, the HFW, and the HWL World Championships. And to me, my goal was to win at least one of the 3 lineage titles, which for the lineage of PGW, I consider it to be CWA, PGW, and HFW. I considered the HWL title a separate entity from PGW. But it's a great achievement if I ever wanted, but I never did. But I consider the CWA, PGW, and HFW as the lineage of the PGW championship. So they give the belt to Joe as Mysterio. I end up winning the CW World Championship off Mysterio after he had a 1 week reign as to experiment to see if this would work. And pretty much he did good with it for those 7 days. I won the belt, even though I was the second option champion. So there wasn't really much momentum for me going up to that point. Even to me, I still felt like I was not the best wrestler on the card. I still felt like I was still having issues in terms of my wrestling ability and all that, because it's always been the same for all these years because of this whole adulthood scorpion gimmick. So I end up playing the belt for 25 days, and I do get that fourth reign as world champion after all. Just not the HFW, it was the CWA World Heavyweight Championship. So I hold it for 25 days. I defended against Akumu. I solidify Mysterio as a top star, and I do a match with J-Pain. So, in fact, I did put J-Pain over one of those matches when he first returned. But anyway, what do I have here? Yep, so I hold it for 25 days, and then I lose it to Shane at Zero Assault, which we had a small little story going, which Steven was not a fan of. And personally, I liked it just because I wanted to wrestle Shane more, but that just wasn't the way Steven wanted to approach it, which later on we ended up having, I believe, 2 more matches. Yeah, 2 more matches, which were pretty good. But this one wasn't as good just because everybody knew I was going to lose the belt, I think, and we planned on me losing it to Joe since Joe was ready, but then at the last second we get the phone call. Steven just says, "Oh, you're losing to Shane." I'm just like, okay, no problem with Shane being me. Though I was mainly upset though of how it ended, not because I tapped out. I really didn't care about that, but I really wanted to be the one to give Joe the honors of winning the world title. I did that in the championship gauntlet, but I felt like doing it again to completely solidify him. I think that would have helped Joe a lot, but I felt like it was because they just wanted to give Shane a CW World title reign, which I believe that's the reason why I did. And if it is, cool, I guess. But in the end, he won another CW World title reign anyway. So, but I think that's why I did it. But personally, but if it it is what it is. I have nothing to complain about besides the way that Joe won it. I wish it was on me, and that's why I've always been upset about it. And I didn't like how Joe didn't really celebrate with the belt. That was just a pet peeve of mine. It was more or less that I felt like it's a world title, Joe. Like, celebrate that you're the world heavyweight champion. Because Joe's been working his ass off for this for years, and he's never made it to the top of the mountain like that. And I wanted Joe to have a special moment for himself, but he didn't really. He only had like a 3-second celebration, which kind of pissed me off because this is the biggest win of your career. Why would you just waste it like that by not celebrating? Like, this is what you worked your ass off for all these years. But Joe sees this more as fun. Like, he doesn't take it as seriously as I have and all that. And I'll be honest, there were some times throughout the season where I took it seriously and sometimes that I did not take it seriously. That instance, I took it seriously. But yeah, I was mainly upset because I wish I could have given Joe the honors, and I was upset how Joe didn't really capitalize on his title win like that. It was still, at the end of the day, he had a hell of a run. He became the longest reigning CWA World Heavyweight Championship, or the longest reigning CWA World Championship reign. He had it for like 65, 66 days. So congrats to Joe. So then this is where I get a little pissed off is the second loser streak because I just felt like everything was getting old. But it was also, Steven also mentioned how it's because my wrestling kind of sucked lately, also mainly because it's the same exact thing. Like, you know how like Goldberg does the spear, the jackhammer, and that's sad. Like George, for example, with the spear and, the meat grinder and the butcher splash, and then the ankle lock or the butcher cutter. Like, that's basically what I was turning into. And Steven didn't like that. He thought I was this whole thing was getting too old. So this loser streak, it was basically, yeah, you're taking another step down because you're not fully impressing or progressing as we wanted you to be. And some of it was also my back and the mental issues and the wrestling abilities. Like they wanted me to like add new moves, add more to my character, but I don't think I could do as much because essentially I felt like we killed my character to the ground whenever we kept dragging the whole Scorpion Medusa thing, even after she fully let me in the I Quit match. Um, so I felt like I think we kind of killed the Scorpion character from that. So like basically, Scorpion has been really pretty much dead since the I Quit match up to that point. Like there was nothing left of the character, I think. And from all these years, because I've been playing this adulthood Scorpion character since the spring of 2019 when I came back. Excuse me, to atone for my own sins against Anthony. So I played this gimmick for almost, I believe, 2 full years up to this point. Because we had the childhood Scorpion and we did the adulthood Scorpion. So the adulthood Scorpion was kind of past its time. And Steven had no intentions of turning me heel at this time. Like, Steven didn't want me as a heel, I don't think. But we came to the point where Steven basically said, okay, I think we need to turn this guy back heel and also try to fix some of my moves and all that. So I go on another losing streak, end up winning more hardcore titles and winning matches. So I end up, we do this Buried Alive match, which actually still surprises me because to me it was the best feud of the season, which I don't think I didn't win the Missionary War, but that's okay. I don't really care as much for those as I used to. But I basically thought I didn't deserve it at the time because of how my wrestling ability sucked. Because I was originally we were supposed to do this match in Endgame, but we had some family circumstances that happened. My uncle passed away. Steven's granddad. This has been on camera multiple times, and we did this on his property sometime after his passing. And there's some family things about the property being sold and all that. I'm not going to go into details about because that's nothing that I would really want to discuss. So we have to do this match now because there's no way we'll be able to do this for Endgame because who knows if the property will be sold or not, which it ends up being sold before Endgame even started. So it was a good thing we did this. Yeah, this is actually my first time talking about this. See here. Yeah. Okay, so for the Buried Alive match, to me, this was the biggest project of the whole season, probably ever. And I'm not saying it's bigger than Endgame, because I'm sure it's not, but there was a lot of time, there was a lot of effort, there was a lot of planning, and everything had to be perfect. Like, everything had to work. And I'm very blessed for Steven to still put trust in me, even though basically my wrestling style was washed up at that time. He still thought I can do this, and he basically gave me the warning saying, hey, if this doesn't work, you're basically done. And I had some little motivation for that. So we basically switched the result. Instead of me winning, we have me losing, which honestly might be the greatest loss of my career because it ended up being a career resurgence for me. So basically, we buried the adulthood Scorpion. And at the end of the day, this was a good match. This might be the best outside match of all time, I think. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure. But again, there was a lot of planning involved, a lot of things that could have easily went wrong. A lot of things could have easily went wrong. And we did it on a very bad weather day where it was kind of a little muddy, soggy out, muddy. And we still went out there and we beat the living hell out of each other, Steven and I. Me and him as Leatherface. We still beat each other. Again, my body up to that point kind of adapted to a newer style, I think. Because I wasn't feeling as much pain because I started to get that adrenaline back. And I also had 2 matches, one with Steven, again, to try to boost some momentum, and a match with Greg, which were 2 good matches, but this time it was basically, hey, we're going to give you this new gimmick. We're actually going to turn you heel, because I know Steven didn't really want to turn me heel, but again, there was some also loss of motivation for me because of Anthony getting hurt by Noah or whatever, and a ridiculous move. So basically, they were going to turn me heel and put me in the Master Militia after my resurrection. But basically, the cold warning was that this doesn't work, and you're pretty much gonzo in terms of being high up on the card. So it was a good match and all that. It had a perfect ending. I don't know if I could give this one 5 stars, even though it was a hell of a story. But those were legit tears I did when I hugged Medusa or whatever. And how Medusa says I think it was like Leatherface can't go in and all that. Like, I could talk about this match all day. Like, I pretty much enjoyed it. Everybody else enjoyed this too. It was the biggest project we ever did, and it was the it was just the biggest project ever in general, because everything could have gone so wrong easily. And I have to thank both Toms, my cousins or whatever, for being a part of this, because without them, this wouldn't have been possible. Period. Like, those were legit bulldozers. They actually dug up the ground to make a hole, which I was going to go into, but we had to change some things around because it was a flood in there. And no, I wasn't legit buried. It was just a match type, and it was one of Steven's goals to do a buried alive match, and we did just that. And I'm very happy about this match, and it was the biggest project we ever produced. So I come back, and my character is basically crazy. I don't really know how to describe this resurgent Scorpion character. I honestly don't know. I think because I personally still to this day don't really know who in the hell this newer Scorpion is. I think Steven has more of a specific, more detailed information about this, because I don't really know much about this Scorpion character. I think Steven has more knowledge about this, because I personally don't really know much about this character other than him feeling the pain from being the adulthood Scorpion of everything he always suffered. So he basically wants to just kick everybody's ass and all that and become part of the militia, which this is how we reunite Scorpion and Medusa as a pairing, which, like I said in the other videos, I think to this day, or whatever, I think the Scorpion and Medusa manager wrestling pairing is the greatest that PGW's ever produced. Because it clicked because of our friendship and everything else between that. So I end up winning my 5th World Championship. And I do win more than 10 Royal and tag titles, but this one was more important. I think this was the best world title run, I think, in my career. Besides the 3rd one, but I actually end up winning the HFW World Championship off of RJ as J-Pain, which I am so happy I won that belt. I didn't need it, but I was really happy. And the only thing I kind of hate about it was I felt like, even though I really enjoyed it and thought I earned it somewhat, I thought it was a bit too early to do that. But not only that, I feel like that killed and solidified RJ's momentum somewhat, because after I took that belt off RJ, I felt like RJ was in a similar boat to where I was at back in the wintertime. And there was nothing left to J-Pain, which I can't really fully explain it, because it just feels the same thing as Scorpion back in the wintertime. Like, there was just nothing left of the character. And maybe it was just momentum changes happening. Who knows? But that's what I thought happened. But I was glad I did. Most of my world title matches were like tag matches or handicap matches, but I also did singles matches with people like Obelisk, Chippy, and Anthony Rowland. Chippy is Obelisk, by the way. I don't remember if I did another world title match against anyone else. Oh yeah, JR Superstar, John, but he was hurt, and I basically won the match by count out. So I hold the belt for 30 days for a full month, and this is where I think this whole character was in his prime. I essentially had 3 straight 5-star matches. The first one I lose the world title to Zero Assault. This time I was more satisfied with it, with the story that was told. Like, it was a 5-star match because of the story that was told, and a great match itself. I was happy to do the honor for Shane or whatever, because I knew I wasn't going to get that main event spot, which they considered it somewhat, which I honestly don't really buy, because that was never the plan in the first place. But it still would have been cool to do that, because the plan was always to be a triple threat for Steven, Shane, and Anthony. And then when RJ was going to be involved in it, he was going to be involved, and then that's when Anthony came back, and I think some of that kind of hurt RJ a little bit mentally, because I think he was really bothered by it. But that's what happened. I lose the belt to Shane. I'm more satisfied about losing the world title here than I was with the CWA, just because of this thing with Joe, and I was glad I could help Shane out with that because my job was essentially to get these guys over and ready in time for the main event. So we did a segment, which I think was the most despicable moment of the season, where he basically, not really, but he actually bears some mark on Emma. He used a pellet, by the way, but it was still good. Like I felt emotion. Everybody felt emotion to it. Like they didn't even know what to do. Um, so that's that. Then I do a match with Anthony, which I almost run him over. Um, I almost lose my brakes. We beat each other up pretty good. I took barbed wire for the first time to my leg, and it was just I was trying to make Anthony say I quit, but at the end of the day, Anthony says I quit to Scorpion. And then finally, I do a match with Diablo, which I think is the most underrated match of the season, which I end up winning with the assist of Shane, but then Oscar beat the shit out of me afterwards. So my character work was really good around this time. Like my character work was so good that Steven had to change the script a few days before the show even started. Endgame, like that's how good his character was. Because Steven told me, because at that time I was the Intercontinental Champion, and the Cash Money Champion, which is basically the $1 million championship as a way to mock Z Money, as also known as Zach. Um, so I basically win. I have all those belts. I also have the tag titles up to this point. But my character works. I wanted to be Cash Money Champion. I saw Greg brought it in. I'm like, I could do so much with this gimmick because I became more of a, I would say like a possum or a pussy heel, where I would just do sneaky things to win matches, and I could just be like a spoiled brat and whatsoever. Like I could be a spoiled brat and everything like that. And we did that. I actually ended up winning that by BS. I basically self-awarded it to myself, but I basically made Emma as like a Virgil, like how Ted DiBiase's like personal assistant was like Virgil. But in this case, I would treat Emma like crap on screen as Medusa. And to this day, I'll be honest, I haven't watched that video because I like that was my ego, and that was probably the biggest ego part of this run was me wanting to hold that belt. Like I just wanted to hold that belt to make myself look like an asshole, and that I felt like that was going to help my character a lot, even though it was only going to be for like a week. Um, but it was still good. Steven still thought it was still good, but he thought it just wasn't right in terms of the story for me to walk out with the Royal Championship at Endgame. So we switched the result and we gave it to Zach, which honestly, well deserved. I was a bit bitter about it at first, but that was just personal reasons. But Zach earned it. Z Money earned it. He earned that Royal title thing. He did so good during the month of June, and I think he earned and deserved something. So what we did was we switched the result, and that's when we had Leroy Blade Riley get involved to be like a friend to Emma, which I still don't really get that because it's like why would Riley like forgive Emma or whatever, or Emma forgive Riley? I'm not sure how that story goes. I think they just wanted to do stuff on camera, which I get. Um, so I end up losing to Zach, and he earned it, and I accepted it. Took me like a few minutes to think about it. Like I was a bit disappointed and upset, but he earned it. Let's get real. So we do that, and then on top of that, I walk out as the final tag champs with Shane. And to be fair, I should only be walking out with one of the belts, not walk out with both. Plus, I had that cash money title on me. So I walk out with that. I get eliminated by Akumu in that 5-man tag just so I can be on commentary. I did not participate in the Steroid to Heaven death match because I would have made history again, just like that video I did with Emma. I would have made history if I won. I would have like 10 belts or 8 belts, and the record is 8 belts at one time. And I didn't want to break that. That belongs to Chippy, I believe. But anyway, I think I might have skipped this, but I've never watched the one where I berate Emma because I feel like even though I wanted to hold belt and all that, I felt like it was so rushed. I just personally didn't like it at all. I only posted it just because, or told Steven he could post because of this story. Because at the end of the day, I trust Steven in this booking. That's probably stressful to try to do all this because anything could possibly be wrong as a booker. Um, but then finally, after I did the what was it, the both time matches, the match with Z Money not being able to do the Stairway Haven Death match because I would have made history. My last match was against Steven. And I did this because I gotta pull this back up again. I did this because like I said, I don't think I mentioned this for the HFW thing. I cashed in and I lost. I don't like walking out as a winner. Ooh, excuse me. I don't like walking out as the winner. I didn't like how I beat Billy at 50 because I didn't want to walk out my last match as the victor. I want to lose on my way out. So we end up doing a thing where we do a 3 stages, which I did not ask to have a specific opponent at Endgame. I basically told Steven, I said, have me face whoever you want me to do. And originally it was going to be Greg. But then Greg's ego got the best of him or whatever. I'll probably talk about and berate him about that in the Journeys video. But basically, we replaced him with JR, and that's when Z Money got involved. And I needed a bigger match than that. No offense to Zach. So Steven put himself in that match because Steven needed the match for himself, even though we were not supposed to face off 2 other times. Up to that point, we were only supposed to do the I Quit match. So we do a 3 stages of hell, a Devil's Playground, Devil's Survival, and the last ride match. I forget what we call it in the match type. Ride to Hell. Yeah, the Ride to Hell match. And also, the other thing I forgot to mention is Emma turns on me because of me berating her and all that in the match with Zach, and that's how I lose. So she's officially out of the militia, and basically she comes to the understanding that Scorpion basically only cared about walking out with the titles and trying to become world champion, and he basically cared more about his ego than caring about her. So that's why Medusa did what she did to Scorpion. And I still, to this day, I believe Medusa deserves a spot in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if she'll get that or not, but she's the greatest woman of all time in PGW, and I think she deserves a spot in the PGW Hall of Fame. But anyway, we do the Ride to Hell match, and I lose to Steven in the Ride to Hell death match. And it was for the Intercontinental Championship. I thought it was good. I almost snapped because of the headshots that we were doing on each other, which I don't like doing headshots at all to my head because I'm more protective of my head. And when he did that stuff to me, because we didn't plan it out, you could hear me kind of be like, I think there was a spot where he was just like getting angry or whatever. Like, I thought I was going to snap because I was getting, I think, to the point of being pissed off. But I was able to control my temper. And it was brutal. We beat the hell out of each other. Like, I probably cussed him. He did stuff to me or whatever. But it was a good match. I wouldn't say it was the best match we ever did, but I still think the I Quit match we did was the best one of the season and of me and his feud. And I end my career with the same person I started with, Steven, my cousin, my homie. So I have nothing to thank. I have nothing but gratitude and thanks for Steven for helping me getting through Endgame and all that, because my body wasn't really into it the way I wanted it to be for the most part of this. But I think the majority of this run, regardless of all that stuff that happened in the wintertime and the spring, I still think it was meant to happen. It gave more people an opportunity. Gave me a step back, and probably could have been, I think it was the best run of my career, and the way everything happened was the way it was meant to be, period. So I'm truly blessed for that. I'm very grateful. They got good people down there, good friends and all that. Some political decisions in terms of like the main event and all that I kind of disagreed with, but at the end of the day, I completely understand. That's not my decision. A lot of those decisions lie on Steven. And at the end of the day, Endgame was a success, and that's the way it ends. So the match with Steven, which I believe someone asked me about this, or a few people asked me about this, is will I be able to return to wrestle again? Well, the answer is obviously no, just because Steven's not bringing us back. Or even if Greg or RJ did their own promotion, I still wouldn't do it. But even if I could still wrestle, I wouldn't be able to anyway, because this is the last highlight for this video. I see now why my body was breaking down in the winter. I figured it out. I might have figured out why my body was breaking down. that moment where I talked about, how I tapped out to Nick and all that with the sharpshooter and all that in my lower back. Well, I went out, I think it was July 19th, so this would be 9 days after Endgame, because Endgame was on July 10th. It was on a Monday. That was the day I hanged out with Emma, and we went to Joe's Crab Shack in Station Square, which is in Pittsburgh. I sat down, and we probably were only there for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes, and I'm just like, something felt off. Like I'm trying to, try to get yourself comfortable, like trying to sit down, have a good posture while you're sitting, and this is like, and something feels off about my back. Like it just feels like something sharp. Like it wasn't anything bad. I told Emma like that, and Emma and I kind of pushed it off because I didn't think it was nothing too serious. Then Monday night came sometime after she left my house, and I'm starting to feel like my body and sharp and that's pain. Like I'm trying to shower, and all I feel is pain. So then I go to bed. Tuesday morning, I wake up abruptly at 7 o'clock in the morning, and which is never typical of me. I usually during the summer when I'm not working and all that, I usually don't wake up till like 10 o'clock in the morning. That's usually the earliest when I wake up is at 10. But in this case, I wake up at 7, and I'm trying to move, and it's like I I, I can't move. Like I had no feeling in my lower back. And I wasn't saying I was paralyzed because I knew I wasn't. But I'm like, I think I'm having a back spasm, which back spasms are not that good. I realized that I was having a back spasm, and I couldn't figure it out why. Like, I'm trying to get up. Like, it took me a full hour. It took me a full hour just to get out of my bed. That's how bad it was. Like, you're trying to walk around, but you can't walk around because all you feel is this tingling and pain, and it's telling you to stop moving. So I'm just like, I'm probably gonna have to go to the emergency room. But then I got my mom or whatever said, "You want me to call her chiropractor?" And I just said, "Go ahead." So they got me an appointment that day for these back spasms. I needed to have someone draw me for a couple days because I was kind of getting a little scared. Because what if something that's actually around my back? 'Cause I know for a fact part of why my back was hurting was because of the wrestling. I think my body, I think what my body did in Junkyard Brawl and that time match and all that, because I knew this from the start, my body's telling me to stop doing this. Like my body can't take it anymore, and I think this is what happened. It's like I basically wrestled at what cost, and it was my back, my tailbone area, which I have also had issues with over the years, but this was more serious than ever. So I got taken care of at the chiropractor, but I'm still having an issue, so I go to the outpatient center down the road to get an MRI or X-ray done on my lower back. I go back the next day, I'm still feeling the same or whatever, but not as bad. I'm still walking around bad and all that. It turned out I have a pinched nerve in my lower back tailbone area, and I have like a bone or something that's out of place in that area. So they gotta treat it and do some things to try to get it back in there. And since then, I've been walking around and stuff way much better. Though it has improved, I still feel the same a little bit, but I can actually still like walk around and walk around and do some physical stuff, but I can't like wrestle or lift heavy weights, or at least for right now. My goal right now is to get my back better and treat it right. Even though it's already been like 3 weeks and I feel perfect, I still gotta be very careful on how I approach things. And I also thought it could have been like a hernia in a disc in my back or a hernia or whatever, but it turned out not to be. The issues were on my lower back and tailbone area. They found that my neck and my back area, like my upper back, it was completely normal. Everything was fine. It was just down here. Um, so even if I did something for Greg or RJ, I wouldn't have been able to because basically this injury I had basically solidified the end of my career. Like I can't wrestle anymore as much as I want to, and I feel fine now. But I wouldn't be able to take the risk, and I know my family would be really, really pissed and upset, which they were pretty upset when I did this run. Um, but there's just no way my body would be able to handle another run like that because of my back. So this would have been, even if I wanted to come back, I wouldn't be able to because of that. So it's been a hell of a journey for 6 years I've been doing this, but now I can't do this anymore. But at the end of the day, I'm very blessed to have all these friends that I've met, and that is the highlights for my PGW run. Again, overall, I enjoyed it. I had my ups and my downs, but those were just some of the highlights. And I'm very blessed to have done this run and had some more matches. Though I probably would criticize more things in my future journeys if I do that, so that's why I didn't fully shit on certain things, because I'll probably do that in that video if I do so. But I don't know if I have like no complaints besides that. I don't regret anything. Maybe I regret the run because of what happened to my back, but I enjoy wrestling. I have a passion for wrestling, even though it's not pro wrestling. It's not what it used to be. I still am a fan of pro wrestling. So that is the end of episode 4. And oh my god, we're already 46 minutes in. Longer than I thought. But I thought it was only going to be like half an hour, but it turned out to be a little bit over 15 minutes more. So the next episode will be the series finale. And the finale, I will be discussing the light at the end of the tunnel and the conclusion of my story. So, I'm happy about this run. If you have your favorite memories of this run or have anything to say about it, go right ahead. Or if you disagree with me, which I'm assuming you would disagree with me, especially you, Steven. I know you're watching this, Steven. You're probably like, why is he doing another bitch fest? But no, I'm very blessed. I'm very blessed. I'm satisfied with everything, even though there's some things I disagreed with. This is just some of my thoughts on it. Um, but we'll see if you bitch about it or not. I love you, man. So I'll see you guys for the light at the end of the tunnel with the conclusion for the series finale. And I appreciate all you guys for watching this all the way. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the series finale of Unprecedented Times, my mental health story and the story of my life since the pandemic. See you guys, and thank you for watching.